I need to talk about something for a second. It's been like 2 or 3 weeks since I last tried to do some Spanish architecture in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, after which I was like, fuck this shit, gave up on the Let's Play Park. I've done loads of stuff in the main time. By the way, yeah, I kind of need to apologize for that as well. I'm kind of busy with stuff at the moment, like there's some real life stuff going on, and there's also Summer Showdown on Shy Guys World. Last month there was the Creators Lounge contest, which I put most of my effort into, and some random other RCT3 projects, so I don't really have too much time to work on this Let's Play at the moment, but I actually got quite inspired, and I really wanted to do this, and that's what brings me to as to why and what I'm actually doing right here, because basically I figured the Spanish thing was just not working out. I really kind of sucked at that, which was, well, mostly due to the fact that usually what I said I was going to do, and what I have done for most of the things that I've built lately, is go to Google Images, go anywhere, just ask for as much of help as I can get on a certain theme, and get just enough inspiration and ideas and also knowledge about that before I jump into it. Whereas for the Spanish theme, it was just going with whatever I felt was Spanish, and it really didn't work out. It was also a bit of a farmer area house that I turned it into, which is really probably not the best idea. So then Blackouts, in one of the streams where I once again complained about the fact that I can't do shit in here, Blackout actually said, yo, you need to look at like Madrid and big cities in Spain and do something like that. So I did that. I actually looked up some of that stuff, and it checked out was like typically Spanish and things. And instead of what I had so far in the Let's Play Park, I'm gonna have to go for a much more big city-ish way of doing the theme in that area. So it is not going to be like with the little houses and the fun little bars and things, but rather big classical buildings with arches and pillars and all that amazing stuff. Now that might actually be a good thing, because I was kind of missing that from Verona Valley. Like, one of the reasons why, well, I liked working on Verona Valley, but also why it was so easy to make it look impressive, is the fact that it's in the classical architecture style, which is usually used to, you know, impress people, to show off your huge wealth, and just basically decorate everything until it's over decorated and you decorate it and just don't give a shit about shapes or measurements or anything like that. So that's why that's an easy theme to do, and really amazing to just pull off and make something look really awesome in a theme park. And that was something that I was not going to have in this park at first, if I would go with that standard farm type Spanish architecture. But now that I'm going with the classical, more big city architecture, I might as well get a bit of France in there. You know, there's also, of course, some Italian influences in that. As long as I also just spam the cypresses, that should be completely fine. And yeah, that's basically about that. So big classical buildings is what we can probably expect from this. Also, I was just messing up when I was trying to build this building. Like, I don't even know in hindsight what I was even trying to do here. I really didn't have too much ideas of what I should do. Basically, this was me doing that, you know, open up a new park file and see what a theme is all about, and just try messing with pieces and try actually build something. This was actually not supposed to be a time lapse, let me make that clear. But in the end, it turned into a building which I figured I might actually want to use in the park. It was not something that I planned beforehand, but it kind of turned into that. So that's why I decided, might as well share that, since I do want to share as much as I can of the park. So yeah, the first half of this time-lapse is just going to be working on this building, finishing this in a map that is not the actual Let's Play Park itself, but then after I have done that, export it to that map, put it into the area where I want it, and, you know, do some stuff with that. And that is basically how this is going to work. One of the things, I think I looked at like a standard corner building where you just have one big tower round-ish thing at the corner, and along both sides you just have those straight classical facades. And that's basically what this is kind of going for. No idea what exactly it is. I'm making the most stupid hand gestures at the moment. And I need to not make this commentary even more awkward than it already is. So yeah, best remedy for that is to actually talk about the building. Thing is, this is classical architecture in a way that we've seen it before. It's just with more of a Spanish idea, but it's really hard to even define that since it is an overall, you know, classical thing. I'm actually gonna have to look into how that exactly works. You know, probably not in a way that I've looked at the difference of Chinese, Korean, and Japanese architecture, which is actually really a thing. And after I've read that, I can't even see any Asian park in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 because everybody thinks, okay, it's Asian, it's alright. But turns out there are actually more differences in Japanese, Chinese, and Korean architecture than I figured beforehand. And I think with Spanish, Italian, and French, this is definitely the case, and I really keep it to like the big cities, since obviously the you know, the Spanish kind of, well, it's really hard to say. The Spanish, it's really hard to even, there's difference, alright, it's hard to define it, and that is why I need to research that, so glad we got that cleared up. Also, I wanted to change the layout of the train. I just figured, you know, I might as well let the train not just ride like around the borders of the park, and just get the train actually in the park itself, and maybe do some cool train stations. But that is something for like a completely different episode, and I'll do that in the future. But yeah, that's where the building is going to be right now. All the light brown stuff is planned buildings, and all the grey-ish tiles are obviously going to be the paths, and that's like the basic planning over here. And over here, I figured I would just get a couple of simple facades done before I really move on to anything. I don't know if I've really explained this too much, but yeah, this is going to be the basic planning, is that I'm going to have facades around this little area, and then the ground that is kind of lowered over there is going to be a little pond where the log flume, hopefully that is actually going to fit, where the log flume is going to have its drop, and where you can just kind of walk around that. Maybe have some nice little waterside restaurants, things like that. Maybe one other attraction, and yeah, that'll be about this area. So it's gonna be kind of city, but then again, on the side of the log flume, I want to have a pretty large mountain that the log flume can use to just kind of have a cool drop and things like that. So I want to put some buildings on that too. It is all just very vague, and there's not really too much planning on it. The main idea was basically Chapas, but with a Spanish theme. There, I said it. That is basically how it is. Though I don't really want to rip off anything too much. Like, that is something I almost feel like I've done too much lately. Like, this park was almost going to completely rip off Disneyland, which is why I'm going to completely rip, I'm going to not have any central castle or anything like that. I do want to have a castle in the Japanese area, as well as probably the Alpine or Romanian area, or just kind of in the middle, but neither of them is going to be a central kind of castle in a way that Disney has one. And I don't even think I'm going to have anything large at the end of the main street. I think somebody said, I think King RCT3 said that was called a weenie, where you have like a really large building at the end of the main street in Disney, and you're like in the beginning of the main street, and you're like, oh wow, that's a huge building over there, it looks beautiful, we're gonna walk towards that or something. It's psychology, and like I said, I don't know shit about that. But that is something that I'm going to leave out, sadly, since I don't think there's anything that I can add to the park without breaking the themes that I currently have. Since Disney castle is alright, since you can see the castle from the entire park, but the entire park is themed after Disney. So even if you're in like the Pirates area, you still feel like, yeah, we're in Disneyland. That's how things work over here. But I feel like in this park, it would just be too weird if you were in, say, the Japanese parts and you see this amazingly huge either European castle next to that, or a castle, which was another idea, a castle that mixes all of the different themes in the park, but that still probably wouldn't work, since that would be one, way too awkward trying to fit all those themes into one building, and also just immersion breaking in any kind of theme that you want to be in. So yeah, I'm going to leave that out, and the only type of weenie that the main street is going to have is that small chair swing thing at the end of it. I can't even speak at the moment. Also, I would like to really quickly express my love for Pets Efteling set roofs. I think those roofs work better as a Spanish roof than the Spanish roof tile set, and this is probably something that I've complained about earlier, but the Spanish tile set, just, it is so bright. and I know this is a theme park, but it is just weird and awkwardly bright. It's really great for some things. I think it's an amazing texture for modern buildings, but if I want to get some classical Spanish architecture, I think that the Pets Efteling set is actually going to be better than that. Though I have to be careful since it's also the set that I am planning on using for my Dutch roofs. So yeah, that is hopefully still going to work out, but I don't know. Now at this point, I do feel like, by the way, the buildings don't really look too Spanish-ish, just generally classical, but they were inspired by many, well, by a couple of Spanish buildings that I've seen, so I think it should work alright in the end. Anyway, that's it for this episode. I'll see you all next episode, in which I'll probably make a couple more facades. So, auf Wiedersehen, and I'll see you then.